All right, welcome to Content Marketing. I am Zack Applewhite. Give you guys a little bit of an overview. There will be times where I'm going to pause and say, hey, did that make sense to everybody? But I'm also going to be going a little bit quickly to have a nice Q&A portion at the end, because I know each of you have individual things you're trying to build and get the word out on with your own unique issues and questions. So I try to pad a lot of time at the end for that. A little bit about me. This is my son who's much younger and able to fit on my shoulders. I can't stand the spinal compression now. I am a professional marketer. I have 6 years of professional marketing experience. Come on in. I have a bachelor's degree. I have a lot of industry experience. I'm currently a search engine optimization specialist, which is fancy talk for I help people get found on Google. That is my day job. That is my by day, but by night on the side, I have also successfully launched, funded, fulfilled 21 micro Kickstarters, which I'm giving a presentation on tonight as well, raising over 10,000 funds from 1,000 backers. In addition to that, larger Kickstarters, I have helped my wife build up her marketing platform, build up her content platform. She's over here. She's a writer. We funded 2 of her books for a total of $14,000 from 374 backers. In addition to that, I've managed to build up TikTok. I picked it up. I got 5 million views, 18,000 followers. Facebook group, I have slowly, steadily been able to grow. I think last year I was at 3,000. This year I'm at 7,000 something. Twitter kind of sucks right now, but I still work with it. 3,000 followers. YouTube, just taking my TikToks, putting them on YouTube, letting the content flow through there. And then way back in high school, because when I was really first cutting my teeth in content and growing audiences, I managed to make an anime couples tribute video YouTube channel that got me 29 million views, which I made $0 from because I was a dumb high schooler. I didn't know you could make money, and I never put my face in it, and then I dropped it because I met her and I wasn't lonely anymore. All right, so I started over, and so this is kind of true, like I've started over and started over and started over, and I've still been able to over and over again grow an audience and leverage that audience. And I also run a Tabletop Business Masterminds group, which you'll all be invited to at the end of this if you would like to join that. Why I'm here is that because I'm a part of the tabletop gaming community, I see a lot of creative people with a lot of creative ideas. I happen to have experience and background in professional training, in addition to in the trench knowledge on content and marketing in general, content marketing specifically. And I know that a lot of people could do a lot better if they knew some very basic, specific tips and tactics. I know it's work, and I have ways to help you do that work without burning out. 2 things you're going to hear from this presentation over and over again is A, how to avoid burnout, and B, to be flexible and try new things and forgive yourself for not doing something spectacular. Okay, not every piece of content has to be gold, so I'll dismiss this myth right now. I test things and they fail all the time. Feel free to fail, because the beauty of failing on social media is that it means no one saw it. It is where you can do the stupidest thing, try something new, and if no one saw it, no one saw it. It's not widely known, so you can forgive yourself and try new things. I tried something new this year that did well. I always am trying new things, and I encourage you to try new things, whether that's a platform or a piece of content. With that, here's the outline that we're going to go through today. We're going to talk about what content marketing is, how it works, how to make it work for you, and I'm going to give you some tips and tactics that I have learned from experience that you can use, and then we're going to get into the Q&A. So 101, this is going to be a 101, but it's going to get real deep in a bit. 101, here's how content marketing works. You create content. This is blog, pictures, video, audio. You use it to gain attention, and then you're going to leverage the attention. All right? Now, when I say leverage attention real quick, that could be leveraging it to go buy something. That could be leveraging it to go donate to something or to show up somewhere. That's what I mean by leverage. That's taking the attention and turning it into an action. Let's dispel some myths real quick. Content marketing is creating values for others. Through creating values for others, you create value for yourself. It is not all about you. That's a very interesting thing that people think, because they see all these Instagram people posting pictures of themselves and they think it's about them. What they're actually doing is creating value for the person, hopefully creating value for the person on the other end, because it's aspirational, or there's a tip in the description, or there's a reason that they're following them, and it has nothing to do with the actual post, the actual person at the end of the post. It's about their intrinsic motivations as the user, okay? It is building trust, positive interactions, and reputation over time. This is brand, okay? When you think brand, it's very easy to overthink it. Just think about it's your reputation. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room, okay? It is not saying the same thing 8,000 times until someone hears you. Generally speaking, when people first decide to get on social media to leverage attention, they say the same thing 8,000 times, and it's usually, buy from me. We're not gonna do that, okay? I understand, I made that mistake too, okay? It is a foot in the door. It is a reason for paying attention. It is, think of it as like soft networking, all right? Like you're entering a community, a game fair, and you're getting to know people, and you're helping them get to know you. It's not sales though. It can lead to sales. But there's another myth that we're gonna bust here, and it is not that you post it, people buy it. Yes, there's outliers. Someone posts a TikTok, and then suddenly they make $10,000 in sales. Generally speaking, they struggle to make the next $10,000, all right? So even if you get that, it's a one-off. And two, don't anticipate the one-off, all right? It is not a sneaky trick to take advantage of people's trust, because I'm gonna show you that you're gonna earn it. It's gonna be work, all right? They're not buying from you because you tricked them. They're buying from you because you did that thing at the very top. You created value for them, all right? So here's how it works at a very baseline level, all right? Step one, create content. Like I said, there's all kinds of content you can create. You're gonna distribute it, which I'm going to map that out for you very specifically in a little bit, all right? You're gonna spread that content out so that it can gain attention. You're then going to engage with the attention, all right? That's that reputation building, that's that soft networking. You're gonna talk to them, you're gonna like their comment, you're gonna expand upon what they said as much as possible. And then you're going to leverage that toward the action and outcome you want them to take, all right? This is the thing that people struggle with the most, which is be consistent without burning out. And like I said, I'm gonna touch on this throughout the presentations. So let's talk about how to make it work for you. Are there any questions real quick? Just a baseline understanding? Wonderful, all right? So first of all, start with familiar platforms. Every now and then there's gonna be a new platform, or you heard some guy who heard from a friend who really knows his stuff, that you have to be on TikTok. You have to start a podcast. Start with the platforms you understand the best, because that's where you're gonna have the most success. You already know what kind of content works in a blog or on Facebook because you're on there, all right? Generally speaking, I like to have 1 to 2 platforms I'm familiar with. For me, that was Facebook and YouTube at the start, and then it became TikTok. I did try a new one, so be willing to try new things, be willing to be flexible, but when you're first starting out, start with what you're familiar with, all right? Because it's gonna be easier for you to succeed and get your legs under you. Work from your strengths. I cannot write a good blog post. It would take me 2 to 3 hours to write one good blog post, and I could not produce that every week because I have a wife, I have kids. I didn't mention this yet. Most of the things I bragged about, the YouTube channel, the Kickstarters, most of that I was doing while I had 2 kids, I had a full-time college student curriculum, and I was working 50 hours a week. Most of what I'm going to teach you today is assuming the reality that it is not your day job. All right. If you want to expand on it, if you want to scale it, I show you a little bit of how to do that. But I'm doing this with the assumption that you only have a couple of hours a day or even a week to work on the thing you want to work on. All right. So work with your strengths and with your circumstances. I can do a podcast. I like to speak, but I do not have an hour to film an hour to put it out every week, then an hour of editing, and then an hour to promote it. Okay. The TikToks I make take me a couple of minutes every other day. That is what I'm capable of doing when I have a kid in diapers still. All right? So be kind to yourself. That's that burnout that I'm talking about, because that's the stretching thing people do too much. Do what you can, when you can, with what you have. I already kind of talked about this, but this is my way of saying that. All right? I could do more, but I don't have more to do it with. I don't have enough time. All right? So I'm doing what I can, when I can, with what I have. Soon enough, those kids are gonna go to school, more time will open up, all right? But right now, I gotta work with what I have. Focus on sustainability, then quantity. Quality will happen naturally. Here's what I mean by this, okay? What happens often, like let's talk about that blog. I really push, all right? I'm gonna make blog posts, all right? They're gonna be high quality. I'm gonna put them out every week and people are gonna love them. Because I focused on quality, I haven't even figured out if I can post a crappy blog post once a week, all right? When I first started out, because I was 50 hours a week, plus college, plus kids, my thing was tweeting once a day. Reply to 2 tweets while I was on the toilet at work. That's the reality, all right? That TikTok I grew to 18,000 followers, my first 10,000 followers was me reading my own tweets from 2 years ago. And I'll also show you that the tweets I tweeted years ago are still today coming back and making content easy for me. You can lay the groundwork using what you can with what you have right now, rather than dreaming, if only I could have time for a podcast, all right? And you do that by focusing on what you can do sustainably. Then you see if you can expand it, then it'll become better, or you'll make it better over time, all right? If you can't even create, if it's just too exhausting to even think of an original thought and put it into a tweet and give it to the world, curate. I'll expand on this a little bit more and a little bit with some examples. But the idea is that maybe you aren't a social media person at all. You don't know how Facebook works. Great. Go in there, share stuff around. You will naturally figure out what works on that platform because you'll be curating. And there is potential to grow an audience because people can look at you and see, oh, this person, they're the best My Little Pony content curator. I'm gonna follow this My Little Pony person. Now, you might want to make a My Little Pony role-playing game. That's your ultimate goal, but you don't have the capacity to tweet about that, make art for that, and do all the stuff for that. Fine. In the meantime, you can build a small 100 follower audience consistently, steadily, by just being a curator. That's not my preferred method. That is the bare bones method. I prefer you to be a creator. But if you're just not able to do that, this is still an option when you wait for capacity to open up for you to create. Now we're going to talk about that distribution, okay? Before I get into this, because it's going to look scary at the end, I want to reiterate, this is not a must build. You can reformat this in a bunch of different ways to work it for you. It's going to look like a scary web, and I'm going to break it down after I build it to show you how you can reutilize it. So let's start with a blog, all right? Top 10 games at Origins. There's your blog. You're going to tweet out each of those 10 things as an individual tweet, as a thread. Now you have 10 tweets, all right? Then you're going to take images, all right, of those games, quotes from your blog, put those on top of the images, and now you have content for all of these platforms, all right? By the way, what I'm showing you here is how to make your content go as far as it can go so that you don't have to make 100 blogs to get 100 pieces of content. This is how to get 40 pieces of content from one blog, okay? So you've written a blog, you tweeted it out, all 10, you turned it into some quotes and images, all right? Then you're gonna create an infographic or 2. All right, you can do all this very easily on Canva, by the way, and YouTube is your friend to learn how to do new things, all right? Now you can have top 10 games, or 1 through 5 and 6 through 10, all right? You've created more content there. You can then take those images very easily in Canva, and you create a GIF, which is those images just sliding, all right? Now you've created a movement piece of content, and you've created a GIF or 2, all right? Or you can turn it into video shorts, all right? You can literally upload images to YouTube, put music over it, it'll automatically slide, and there's a piece of content. Will it work? Possible. I have seen it work, but this is the whole thing of like, try it. Try it. If no one sees it, no one sees it. All right? Don't be embarrassed when no one was there to see it. Okay? But we're not done. Because you can read that blog. If you read it into a microphone, you have a podcast. You can talk about, here's the top 10 things I came across at Origins this year. All right? If you do it from a video, now you have a 30-minute video. But we're not done. Because you can break that video down into 10-minute segments, 5-minute segments, and shorts. All right? Now, who's scared of this? Raise your hand. Absolutely! I don't do, this is the full-time job version, okay? This is the full-time job version. Let me show you a little bit about what I do. This is what I do. I tweet it, I take screenshots and I post them on social media, and I'll show you examples of how that works. All right? I read them and I make video shorts. I also have a Discord community, completely disconnected from that. All right? I don't make content from there and put it in the Discord, because the Discord's about tabletop business, masterminds. And then I'll do one-on-one sessions with them every now and then. And I create a content library where it's just me and them talking through their problems, and it's kind of a podcast. And then I make memes, because I like memes. All right? I'm now posting those memes to TikTok, and it's sometimes working, by the way. I'll show you a bit.
Can you real quick go back to the scary web? Just
Yes.
So that I can
Yeah. Real quick. At the end of this, there'll be a QR code. You all right? If you give me your email, I send you the full slide deck, the recording, and you have an opt-in option, so you're not automatically signed in, but if you want to be added to my email list, I'll add you to my email list. You'll also be invited to the Tabletop Discord. Okay? So here's what I would do if this was my full-time job. But it's not. I have a wife, I have kids, I have a job, I have responsibilities. I also would like to not get fatter, so I have to go to the gym and eat well. All right? So instead, this is what I've made work. By the way, let me walk through this one more time. If you don't start with a blog, that's okay. Let's say you start with a video. All right? Take the audio from the video, you have a podcast. Take the transcript from the audio, you have a blog. Do it all again. This is backwards compatible. This is any way you want to start with your strength and then branch out. Yes?
Like, what if your content is mainly images rather than
Right.
something that's either a video or a blog? It's more short content, like pictures of your stuff.
So you would make that best piece of content for that is you can still make GIFs. You can then turn that into, if you want to make an infographic, like let's say you make clay mugs, all right, that are D&D focused. You take pictures of those. At the end of the year, you could do my top 10 clay mugs, all right? And there's a reel, there's an infographic. You could make that into a blog, you can write about them, you can talk about the process, all right? So even though you started with an image, if you have the time and you're willing to learn something new, you take a little time to learn that, you can make it go further. You can also, if you wanted to expand on that and get a little weird, you can turn that into a podcast talking about mug making, but after that, you're getting a little weird, and also you're probably gonna burn out, okay? The best thing to do here, start where you're comfortable with. Me, I started at tweets and then I read them. I don't do the blog, all right? The podcast is disconnected. I started with my strength and I branched out naturally rather than trying to do all of this burning out, crashing, and wishing I'd never been born, all right? As we've so often done, okay? So now you've distributed your content, you're starting to get attention. Let's make the most of that. You're gonna reply to comments whenever possible. I'll show you in a bit. I've had tweets and Facebook posts, they got 200 comments. Don't reply to all those. You have a life, okay? But when you have one or two comments, even if it's just a thumbs up emoji or a thanks, that's still something. Here's the two things that does. One, it connects with that person in that moment. That helps you build your brand even a little bit, all right? Two, anyone else who sees in your feed, oh, this has, instead of one comment, it has two. If you had 10 people comment, now you can turn that into 20 comments. It makes your content look fuller. It makes it look more engaging, all right? Three, they go onto that post and they see that the creator of the post is an engaging person. They feel more comfortable entering into your circle. And then four, it's good for the algorithm. You're doubling the comments, okay? And the algorithm likes more engaged content. Like every content that doesn't insult you, okay? I'm on YouTube. One of the #1 comments I get on YouTube, just posting my TikToks, is egg, because I'm a bald male, how dare I, okay? There's middle schoolers on YouTube. I don't reply to those, okay? Because I'm not in the business of trashing middle schoolers. All right? That's not what I do for fun anymore. All right? But everything else, drop a like. A like is free. If you don't have the capacity to comment on 200 comments, okay. Too bad. Like as many as you can without blowing your brains out, okay? Without burning out. Because you want to be consistent. Do what you can do consistently, okay? Share, all right? If someone comments on your thing and you like it, share it. If you see content you like, share it, okay? People over curate their feeds. You could tweet 40 times a day. That's fine, because people are only gonna see 2 of them, okay? That's just the way that the algorithm works. You almost can't over create content, all right? Unless you're in a micro community like Discord or Twitch.
Or if you're George
That's where you can kind of oversaturate yourself. On most places though, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, everywhere else, you can create as much content as you want, all right? So don't be afraid to share. As you're doing this, develop your voice, all right? What I mean by develop your voice, I mean that you're going to think about when you're interacting with people, you should have a kind of character that they're interacting with. The reason that this is helpful is actually because conflict will inevitably come your way, all right? And you need to try and build a voice that speaks for the thing you're building, even if it doesn't necessarily build for you. For example, we just had Juneteenth. I do not believe that me and my voice is the proper voice to speak on Juneteenth. So I did not make a Juneteenth post, but the voice that for the thing I'm building would share a Juneteenth post from someone in the community who I can give a little bit of extra platform to. That's what I mean when I say building your voice. Understanding how to approach the more complicated things. You do not have to know exactly what that is going in, but you want to have it in the back of your mind so you understand it as you're building out, all right? Talk about them and what they're interested in. I'll show you a piece of content examples in a bit. People love to talk about themselves, ask questions, all right? What's your favorite D&D class is asked every day on Twitter, and still people comment on it, all right? Still, and I'll show you examples of very literal things in just a bit, all right? So that's how you're going to engage with that attention. That's gonna help the attention stick. That's gonna help the attention grow, all right? Now, how to leverage it. First, we're gonna talk about the different ways to leverage attention. First is to sell to the attention. Hey, you guys have followed me, I want you to buy my products, all right? Then you can sell on the attention, all right? This is, hey, I've grown audiences, I'm a big board game TikToker, all right? Pay me and I'll speak at your events, or I'll help you sell your books, all right? All right, and then you can sell access to the attention. Access to the attention is advertising. You have a podcast, you have attention from that podcast, people want that attention, and they pay you for it. All right, so these are the different ways, in general, to leverage attention. Oftentimes, people are doing more than one. Because you're selling t-shirts through your podcast, you're selling Patreon subscriptions through your podcast, and you're selling ads on your podcast. And maybe also you're writing a book on podcasting that you hope to sell. All right, these are the different ways you can leverage. All right, let's talk about avoiding burnout. I know I'm gonna keep saying it because this is the #1 killer of creators everywhere. Okay, so again, I say consistency. Do what you can do. I tweet it every day on a toilet. All right, that's what I can do consistently and sustainably. That's what comes first. Build from there. Do not try and be like if you were trying to be Critical Role. Maybe don't. Okay? Maybe you don't have 14 voice actor friends who you can circulate through, a camera crew, and a stage setting. If you do, go for it. Okay? I don't. I can't do that. So focus on what you can do consistently. Maybe you can build up to that, which is build up slowly. Started with tweets. It wasn't until 2 years later I was putting them on TikTok. When I had a little bit more free time, I started transferring my TikToks over to YouTube and then to Facebook because I don't know what's going to happen to TikTok in 2 years, but I'm pretty sure YouTube and Facebook are going to be around. So I'm letting the same content I made 2 years ago onto Facebook, onto YouTube, and it is slowly working and slowly growing. Okay, so that I built up slowly. All right, I didn't try and do that web all at once. Reevaluate, re-optimize, and it's okay to scale back. I overestimate myself all the time. I think I'm Superman. All right, I think I can function on 2.5 hours of sleep and a granola bar. All right, turns out I can't. All right, I've tried. I keep trying every other year. All right, And it's those moments where my wife tells me I'm crazy, and I scale back, and I reevaluate, and I go back to, okay, what can I do consistently? Because this is gonna burn me out if I keep doing this, all right? Do everything purposefully, not reactionary, or because someone on a podcast or behind a podium told you you're supposed to. Examples of this, you hear, you need to have a website. If you don't have a website, you don't have a funnel. If you don't have a funnel, you're not gonna make sales. That's true, but if you don't have an audience, you don't have a funnel. Okay, and spending $150 a year on a domain and learning how to build a website or hiring a web developer isn't going to be a good use of your time if you don't have anything to point to it. This is the point of saying that you're going to hear a lot of ideas, from me included. Curate them. Don't do things you think you're supposed to do. Take the idea, put it against what you've already built and what you're building toward, and think about how it fits. Then give it a try. Okay, do it on purpose, all right? Have a bare minimum. Tweeting on a toilet, that's my bare minimum. Things are gonna happen in your life. You're gonna have a kid, a health emergency, someone in your life is going to be struggling, and you're gonna need to give time to them. Your job is going to change or become more difficult, or you're gonna get fired because COVID happened, all right? So have a bare minimum. If all else fails, I know I can tweet once a day. And I know I can build off those tweets in a year or two from now when this issue passes and I have more capacity, all right? Having a bare minimum anchors you, because next to burnout is just drop off, all right? When you drop off, it's really hard to pick back up. Having a bare minimum keeps your engine running a little bit so that when you have more fuel, you can pour it back in, you can start that engine back up, and you can start building back out that content web. All right. Specific tips and tactics. This is my favorite part. All right. Because I'm not all talk. All right. I'm in the trenches. Screenshots. All right. I screenshot a tweet. All right. Pulling a sword from a stone of the last century. Tried pulling it from a hide of an ancient beast sleeping 8,000 years. I screenshot that and I post it to a Facebook group. You're going to do this from your page, by the way. Mine is Applewhite Games. I am Zack Applewhite from Applewhite Games, sharing it. I'm not being subtle here, okay? But the wonderful thing, and I will pull out of this in a second to show you, is that everyone there, because I shared it into the group, everyone there, I can click on that and invite them all to go to my page. That is how, in 1 year, I grew from 3,000 to 7,000 members. That tactic, almost 100%, is what did it for me. Screenshots also work on most other pieces of content. If you're going to Instagram, I experimented with it on TikTok. Let's see if I can show you. Real quick, this is how they're performing on Facebook. This is how they performed on Twitter. 3 likes. This one did really well on Twitter, and then it did really well on Facebook. This one didn't do well on Twitter at all, and it still performed decently on Facebook. Why? Well, I'll tell you why, because I have a degree. All right? It's a psychological component. People assume that cross-platform content is more important because it came all the way from over there. And because when people were originally sharing tweets onto Facebook, it was almost all celebrities and politicians. Okay? Also, it's an image which looks better. If I copy and pasted this text and put it into the text feed of Facebook, it wouldn't perform as well. Images take more real estate and they look cleaner. So, if you're tweeting or posting on LinkedIn or Tumblr, screenshot it, share that screenshot elsewhere, and trust me, it's worked for the past 4 years, and it's still working, okay? So let's try this again. Here's another tweet, all right? This one was from 2021, all right? And it was asking, does anyone else have certain themes in your worlds, characters that you so frequently that you wonder if it's a problem of your subconscious? All right, for me, this is evil religious organizations and secret black market drugs that are magical. All right, this is a good tweet. It only got 4 likes and 2 comments, but I still screenshotted the tweet. I posted it recently, all right, less than 2 weeks ago. It got 10,000 views on TikTok. It's not even a video. This is a video sharing platform. I tried something new because I'm willing to fail. This was not the first time I shared a tweet on TikTok. This was like the 10th time I shared a tweet on TikTok, okay? And still it got 10,000 views because it incited comments. It made people talk about themselves, because I asked a question, by the way, because people like to talk about themselves. All right? So, specific tips and tactics. Take screenshots and share them. All right? Again, I already talked about this a little bit. Have a Facebook page, share into a group. This is an important, specific thing you need to know about Facebook. Facebook is one of the best places to grow. It will still be here 5 years from now, which I can't say for TikTok. I can't say for Twitter anymore. All right, because I don't have faith in that. Facebook will be here. Pretty much everyone is on there, even if you don't like it, because I'm only there for the groups. All right, because I don't want to hear what my Uncle Dan has to say about the economy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So I don't go there for the social aspect of the people in my friend group. I go for the groups. I go for the pages. You can create your own group. This is my group, D&D Unlimited. You can grow that group, share into that group. And you're guaranteed that it'll be allowed, because some groups will have very stingy admins. You'll learn through that naturally. I've learned through that naturally where certain content is kind of allowed to be. All right, that just comes through practice. All right, so Facebook pages and groups. All right, pics, memes, screenshots. I'm just kind of mapping this out for you. You can post to the page, share to the group, invite and interact. If you have reels or shorts, you're going to post to the page. There are no groups. You can invite and interact. Yes.
Are you talking about the Facebook page and group that you made, or what?
Any. So this is the moment I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Here is the Applewhite Games Facebook page. We're going to give it a moment to pull up, and I'm going to have a sip of coffee. Come on now. It'll work for me eventually. While that pulls up, let me take a look at the next slide here. Okay, it's giving me a little trouble, but what I am talking about that answers your question, all right, is that you have your own page, okay? So create a page for whatever brand or service or whatever you're trying to create, your own name even, okay? Kaylin Applewhite has an author page, okay? She posts into her author page and then shares into writers and authors groups that she is not an admin of, that she did not create, all right? And because the content she's sharing is memes, screenshots, videos, helpful and informative or entertaining things, the admins let it through, and then every time someone likes that or interacts with that, you can click on that interaction, and there's a little invite button, which I'd love to show you if the internet works.
Do you want to jump on my hotspot?
I'm on my hotspot, which is why this is throwing me off. All right, so let's give this a moment to load up, and I'm going to keep going on the presentation. We might circle back to this in the Q&A. I don't want waiting around for technology to work to eat up all of our time. All right, so cross-platform posting. Here's a tweet that I didn't even create. I just wanted to try something. I like what the tweet said. I shared it. This is easy content, by the way. I know I'm shifting gears really quickly here. All right, so we just talked about that specific tactic. Here's easy content to put into your content funnel. All right, one is cross-platform posting. We already talked about that with tweets. Two is polls. People love to talk about themselves. What do you prefer to be at your table, player or dungeon master? Is this a complex question? Did this take a genius level? This is right up there with what's your favorite class. This is lower than what's your favorite class. It's who are you at your table? And I still got 500 votes on it. That's 500 eyeballs on a post. It's relatively simple, all right? And then there's another example. Okay, yes?
Is that, I guess with like SEO optimization, is like finding posts to get noticed that are so simple? Like I opened a hair salon and I got this like crazy 60,000 view on like a permed mullet.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of like these complex colors that take like 8 hours and stuff like that.
With social media posting, I generally recommend not to worry too much about the algorithm. Worry about the people on the other end. So search engine optimization is great for websites if you are a salon and you want to get found locally.
Yeah.
What I recommend there is having certain keywords on your website. All right, putting those keywords into your content as well. And then, by the way, if you do not have your Google Business Profile set up, You want to get that set up.
And also Apple Maps too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Google Business Profile is probably the most important one because of how it shows up in Google itself, whereas Apple Maps doesn't show up in Google the same way.
Okay.
That is an industry thing that I'm going to step back to this, because if I start rambling about my day job stuff, we'll be here for 4 hours. We don't have that kind of time. All right. Ask questions. People love to hear themselves talk. So one of the examples here was answer these 4 questions. I'll tell you your Hogwarts house. All right. What's your Starbucks order? What's your favorite animal? What's your childhood hero? And give me your 2 favorite pizza toppings. I did not reply to all 225 comments. All right. I probably replied to the first 100 and then said, guys, I have children and they need to eat. Okay. But this was a great example of just ask engaging questions, ask it interestingly. People love to talk about themselves. People also love for you to tell them about themselves, is what this really is. By the way, I only based my answers based on the pizza toppings. Okay, everything else I forgot. If it was all meat, you're a Gryffindor. If it was all veggies, you're a Ravenclaw. If it had pineapple, Hufflepuff. All right? If it has olives and green pepper, you're Slytherin. All right? And I gave those answers and I had a 50% accuracy rate. Okay? I didn't need to be accurate for the content to be good. All right?
Pineapple is a 100% indicator.
Right. I'm a Hufflepuff, by the way. Pineapple and ham all day. All right, connect with your fellow creator community. This is where I got my start on TikTok. There's something called Follow Friday. I talk about that in a second here. But comment, add questions, ask your community. All right. Generally speaking, especially, I started in poetry. Terrible community. So into themselves. Okay. I got 3,000 followers on Instagram or 10,000 followers on Instagram for my poetry. No one backed my Kickstarter for my first poetry Kickstarter. But I had like 300 followers on the tabletop gaming side on Twitter, and like 3 of them actually backed the poetry Kickstarter. Okay? This is a better community. All right? Talk to each other. We're less vain in general. Join Facebook groups, participate on things like Follow Friday on Twitter, #FF, #Follow Friday, which is just you saying, hey, here's 10 people you should follow. Generally speaking, your audiences aren't going to follow those 10 people. The 10 people end up following each other. That's where your first 100 to 300 followers will generally come from, on Twitter specifically. Again, I kind of hate Twitter now, but it's still something you can try. Yes?
I would add to that, not just like connecting with fellow creators, I would say be very supportive, like promote them, help them, because a lot of times, I mean, and not expecting anything in return, but a lot of times they'll do something in return, but just kind of supporting each other, and it creates part of that community and makes you a valuable part of that community.
Exactly, and that's that adding value portion. All right, I'm trying to click into a piece of content here. While that loads up, we're gonna go to the next section. How are we doing on time here?
22.
Sweet. All right, bonus concepts. All right, the 80-20 rule. All right, 80% of your content should be that value-added content that you are allowed to sell. All right, my general, and this is different from person to person, but my general blanket statement maximum is 20% of your content talking about yourself, trying to sell things. All right, 80%, because if you do it too much, people are just going to drop off. The 80% keeps them around, reminds them that you're human, reminds them that why they came there, whether that's because it's educational, whether that's because it's funny. All right, I also, because I work project-based on Kickstarter, I am like 95% just content, just memes and tweets and fun times, because I only launch a couple Kickstarters a year, and that's when I sell. Okay, and I go more like 50-50, you know. But that's the general blanket statement to look for. You also want a content mix. If I could pull up my Facebook, my socials, I would show you it's a mix. It's not just screenshots, okay? It's memes and screenshots and something I shared from another channel, all right? Don't just be one thing. Try new things. Let it be a mix, okay? What got you here won't get you there. Follow Friday won't get you to 10,000 followers, okay? When I was stuck at like 10,000 followers on TikTok, I decided to mix in anime. That got me my next 5,000 followers, okay? So this is why you have to try new things. It's very easy to come up against walls in social media, and it's at that point you gotta start asking yourself, what can I do differently to shake things up a little bit, or expand a little bit into a next door audience, okay? Do not try to game the algorithm. This is a little bit what I talked about with you already. Okay, you're not in the algorithm business, you're in the people business. So people will complain over and over again that the Facebook algorithm is changing, the Google algorithm. I'm an SEO. Every quarter my job is on the line because Google changes its algorithm pretty much every quarter now. All right, sometimes twice a quarter. All right, but because I'm not looking at things at a quarter by quarter basis, I'm looking at things for the next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I need to be people focused. The algorithms at the end of the day are trying to keep people on platform. They're trying to deliver them entertaining, informative content that keeps them around. If you create that at the end of the day, that is what's going to win. All right? Build the audience before you start selling. Some of you have already started selling and you're not gonna like to hear this, okay? But a lot of people, they build their money funnel before they build their audience funnel. I recommend, if you haven't done anything yet, build the audience funnel first, okay? Because one, when people first meet you and you're saying, money please, it doesn't come off well, all right? So having your Cash App in your TikTok bio looks cringy, all right? But instead, building the audience, and then when you're ready to turn the money on. Most of us aren't, this isn't our livelihood for most of us, all right? This is something we're doing on the side. The 20 bucks you were going to make is something that you can wait a little bit on until you have a bigger audience, and it could be $200. Or until you have a bigger audience, it could be $2,000, $20,000, okay? I turned it on, and then I've been growing it a little bit, but I had some people under me before I started to launch the Kickstarter projects and so on. All right. So now before we get into tools, because we're getting into the end here, I really want to see if I can pull in that Facebook. And it is just not working for me. We're going to try switching over the Wi-Fi here. Is my computer just crashing? Here we go. All right. We're going to try this and pray, and then we're going to come back here and finish up. Some useful tools, all right, that I've learned from in the trench, okay? So things like Buffer, Hootsuite, there's other options out there, all right? Find the one that works for you. This is if you have a picture of, let's say, that clay mug, and you just want the same, you don't want to have to go into every single platform and post it differently and copy and paste the hashtags. Buffer, Hootsuite, these are cross-platform posting tools that you can post the same thing throughout. It is just crashing on me. A second here, trying to go back to the hotspot. All right, meme generator app, this is where I build all my memes. Okay, it automatically uploads new memes that are kind of currently popular, and it'll help you edit the text so that you can make something funny. If I had content working on here, I'd show you examples of that. All right. Giphy, just a good place to find GIFs. That's another content mix kind of thing you can say. That way when you wake up Monday morning, you can find a GIF of a very sleepy Snow White and say, Happy Monday! You know, that's just an easy tool to pull that from. Musically down, if you have TikToks, you push the link in, it turns it into an MP3, or an MP4 I mean. That you can upload to your YouTube, to your Facebook, to your LinkedIn, I don't care, all right? It makes it easier to do that. Canva is the #1 place I recommend if you are not a Pro Tools graphic designer person, learn Canva, okay? I'm not a graphic designer person, and I made this whole thing on Canva, okay? Grammarly, so that you don't sound like an idiot, all right? I'm not good at spelling, all right? Grammarly will help you with that, all right? And that brings us to the Q&A portion, so go ahead and start raising those hands while I see if I can wake up the Leviathan that is Meta. Yes?
I got 3 questions, but hopefully they'll be quick. The first one was, you were talking about you reached maybe like a plateau in the number of subscribers you were getting, so you pivoted to anime, and you talked about anime, and you got a different crowd, right?
Yes, but I'll clarify. I didn't do a full hard pivot. So everything I talk about on my TikTok is Dungeons and Dragons. So I did a soft add-on, I would say, where I didn't just start talking about anime. I said, hey, what happens if we take Bakugo from My Hero Academia and try and make him into a D&D character? All right, that was a convergence point. I was able to just come up with and try something new that allowed me to bring anime people in and especially people who like both anime and D&D. And if you like Dungeons and Dragons, your propensity to like anime is pretty high. So go ahead and keep going. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no, I got you. I guess I was just thinking, like, trying to think something that I like to do every day that I could easily comment on. But I have Zoracle Games, which is like it's a game company that I'm trying to create. But I play Marvel Snap like all the time, and I don't feel like I can talk about that on the Instagram. Or is that just something I try to have to work in or something?
If you can, here's the thing. One, try. What's the worst that can happen? No one sees it. Okay. Two, is there an audience overlap between Marvel Snap and what you're creating? All right. If it's higher than 10%, give it a try. Okay. And then three is that once you try it, sometimes you figure out how it fits later. And at the very least, now it can stop pestering you. If it doesn't work, and you can drop it. All right, and now your brain can stop thinking about that in the back of its head, and it can start building towards something new. Do you have another question after that?
I did. Just the quick one is you said 80-20 rule. How do you feel about having like the Amazon link to one of your games in your bio?
Bio is fine.
Bio
Yes.
is fine. Okay.
Bio is fine. Bio is not your feed. Your feed is what I talk about with the 80 and 20 rule. Your bio should be fleshed out with here's who I am, here's the name to know me by, and here's the primary link to get to the next thing I'm trying to leverage you to.
And then the last question was, you had the web, and your web was simpler to use. Do you have a tool that will remind you of when and what to post, or you just keep that all up in here?
What I do is that I've built up times, all right? And I know that I sit down and I have an hour in the morning. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning because that's the moment of silence I get in my day. The kids aren't up, she's still asleep, all right? I can wake up and have breakfast, eat my eggs, and then I can do something, all right? That hour is the time to do it. I do not focus, because this is another like gaming the algorithm thing. Everyone will tell you, oh, you want to post at 12:14 on Wednesday, you know? I don't do that, and I've still managed to get thousands of followers, okay? Point being is that I post when it's good for me, and I hope it's good for others, okay? If this was my full-time job, I might worry about that, okay? But because of burnout, I am not setting alarms for 3:15 on a Wednesday to make sure I post that YouTube video.
Well,
All
and
right.
Buffer is really helpful because you can schedule out posts.
Yes.
I only worry about my social media on Saturdays. I set up all my posts for the whole week, and then I don't worry about it. All I do from then is post management, and that works for me because I'm not a content creator, I'm an author, and I have other more important things to do.
That's kind of content.
Now, I'll also say this because this is just giving me a heck of a time. If you join the Tabletop Business Masterminds, I will in this next week make a video on proper Wi-Fi to walk you through this, because Facebook and email are the probably two most underutilized.
Don't try my
tools.
hotspot. It's online.
What's the hotspot?
It's rough Talia, and here's the password.
Try other networks real quick. Where are you at?
Rough Talia.
It's on top. Is it on top?
Yeah. It's a personal hotspot.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Say it as loud as you can.
Well, I'm gonna change the address. Feel free to jump on 1QZXK and numeral 1.
Oh, hang on, I've already gotten it wrong.
Okay, 1QZXK
Technology.
numeral 1 SMGY.
All right, let's hope I can do it. First of all, we're gonna do the show. I think that's right. Do it. Do it. I'm gonna hit the refresh page because I would love to show you. Honey, how are we on time? What's the time right now?
About 10 minutes, babe.
Got about 10 minutes. Okay. Questions? Keep them coming. Yes.
What's your opinion on what might be the next most popular kind of Twitter replacement? Because I mean, there's Blue Sky, there's Mastodon, there's a bunch of other
Yeah,
sites
it's
that are
giving me
trying.
heartburn every day. It's giving me heartburn every day.
Unfortunately, Reddit. If I had to pick a winner, all right, because I've been on things like Blue Sky, and in order to beat out an incumbent, as far as social media goes, I'm not bringing politics into this, all right, an incumbent social media platform, you have to do something differently, okay? TikTok was different than Snapchat and Facebook, okay? It was a short video feed, It did Vine, but better, and Vine was already dead, so it didn't have to compete with Vine. Most of what is being created is either the exact same thing, carbon copy paste, okay, or it's harder to use, all right? So it is much more likely that you'll take something like Reddit, which is Twitter on crack, all right, and then that is more likely to win. And then people will just drop Reddit, go to Facebook, go to something else, because I don't see anything on the market that has enough of a differentiator to really take the audience from Twitter and supplant it into a new content or platform. All right. By the way, thank you. You in particular.
You're welcome.
All right. So here's one I shared. Okay. So I shared this into all things Dungeons and Dragons. All right. This I loved. All right. I didn't wait for this one. Okay. I had a terrible idea. All right. And I said, idea: Medusa hornets, a swarm of hornets whose stings cause isolated stone petrification. Enough stings will turn the victim slowly into stone, and then consume the stone carcass and or use it to house the next hive. That's terrifying, okay? Imagine you're walking through a forest, you see an owl bear, you fire an arrow, you hear plink, and then bzzz, okay? That's terrifying. I loved it so much I posted it to all the platforms immediately, and it did well. This did well on TikTok. Okay, people asked what was wrong with me, naturally, okay? But it did well, and so here's what I did. So on Facebook in particular, I shared the Zack Applewhite, who's going to Origins, I'm here, all right? I shared it to Applewhite Games page. I shared that page into the Dungeons and Dragons, all things D&D group. I click on this. I've already invited all these people. If I've invited these people before, it will not allow me to click the invite button, all right? But I invite them, and sometimes it makes you invite them twice if you're on mobile. You can do this all on your phone as well. If you have a reel, let me go to my page here, all right? It's being weird. All right, let's go to my, you have to go to your Meta Business Suite. All right. Special dashboard. If you have a reel, you can do this on mobile. I'll just point it out to you. If you have a bunch of likes on a reel on Facebook, you can either do it through mobile or you can go to your Facebook Meta Business Suite and you can invite people from there. Okay? Because I have certainly had reels that kind of blew up. Let's scroll down. Here's one that got 16K, 3K, 4K, and I was able to invite everyone who liked that within reason, because even still, I cannot invite the like 300 people that like everything all day, every day. Okay, but I do what I can when I can, and sometimes I get something like this that got 500,000 views. Okay, so there's one of the exact tactics to grow a Facebook page, which is a platform you can feel confident will be here 10 years from now, and you can feel confident that most people have. All right, what other questions do I have before we have to kick ourselves out of here for the next group?
Do you have a stat block for the?
For that?
Yeah, for the
She's making it. So we have, one of the things we did, because we try new things, was that after COVID, we got into the tabletop gaming, just indie stuff. We made Aragarth. We used the tabletop games to platform her as a writer, all right, and have slowly been building up to a major book, and that's going to be one of the monsters in the book. I am real quick, before we get out of here, I hate when it does that. I'm going to share with you the QR code that if you want this presentation, please scan that now. You will get the full slide deck, the recording. You will also have the option to sign up for the Tabletop Business Masterminds. You do not have to sign up for my email list. There's a checkbox. If you want to, you can click it. Okay?
So posting on Facebook, I feel like whenever I do that, it only allows me to like post on 3 specific groups, and then there are certain contingencies, like not having necessarily like a strong call to action, like come to the salon, get your hair booked and stuff like that.
So that's where I would say that like the call to action, this is what's harder about reoccurring business. To be honest, reoccurring business requires you to consistently put that call to action in there.
Yeah.
So generally what I would do for me, okay, and you take this and you apply it the way you need to apply it, even if that means throwing it away. What I would do for me is not throw the call to action in there all the time. Okay, I would wait until people ask in the comments, where did you get your hair done? Where did this perm happen? And then I would tell them.
I
I
do
would link them to the
reoccurring
page.
content a lot because I'm promoting my books.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would branch out to instructional and like say, here's how to get your hair to look better. You know, give them like information. Informational channels are really, they have a lot of that value to them. And so like, I don't just talk about my books and constantly sell them. I'll be like, oh, here's a writing tip, or, you know, here's the writing that I'm doing today. Aspirational, informational, and then my products, and mixing them all together.
All right, anyone else? Back there.
Yeah, so as you branch off from platform to platform to platform to platform, you wind up with more and more sets of analytics and stuff to look at.
Yep.
So I guess it's kind of a little bit of a three-parter. So one, how much value do you get at from like really trying to dig in and look at numbers in that respect? How to keep them organized, and is there like a kind of centralized thing to kind of like, I guess, is there a good way of like comparing the different platforms to one another?
So I do something similar for my work, a search engine optimization. Here's what I would say. One, you probably don't need to be doing it more than every 3 months. Okay, 3 to 4 months. I only do it like every year. Okay, I really look at my platforms and I see what's growing and I see what's working and I look at the insights. Okay, because if you over focus on, it's kind of like watching your stocks. If you're an investor, okay, you're just going to drive yourself crazy worrying about the micro numbers when again you're trying to avoid burnout. You just need to be in the trenches making the content, and then sit back every now and then, look at the bigger picture, and you'll have a better view. Okay, and that would be my, and I use Excel. I just copy and paste and screen share everything into Excel a couple times a year. All right, 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes. Last question. There.
So I know you talk about burnout and the bandwidth that you have in your own personal time to do all this stuff.
Yep.
Conversely, something like Discord and something like TikTok
Yep.
really requires you to constantly be putting stuff out there in order to get people to pay attention, because things go away so quickly and go up the feed and gone.
Yep.
So, how do you balance that out, especially with a platform that it may not meet your audience, or you know what I mean? Like,
So here's what I'll say to that. Discord's a great example for that. Okay, so I have the Tabletop Business Masterminds group. I've been silent on there for the past 2 or 3 weeks because I've been getting ready for this presentation. She's had book events. She has her own presentations. We've been doing a lot of vacations. Okay, and you got to forgive yourself. Okay, and you have to set a barrier and say, like, look, could I grow this community more if I was spending hours a day really in there and creating content for them? Of course I could. And the thing that I hate telling myself, but I have to tell myself, is that I am capable of anything, but not everything. Okay? And so the answer to that is that it sucks. Okay? And you're going to have to forgive yourself and allow yourself not to be in the trenches growing that community if it's just not something you're capable of doing. And by the way, if it's not something you're interested in, because you kind of made the comment of like, if it's not really your community or whatever, take a hard look and ask yourself, how much time am I spending on this, and could I spend it elsewhere? Right. Would it be more beneficial elsewhere? Kaylin hates TikToks. Okay, so you like it. All right,
really want nothing to do.
I tried TikTok so much, but doing the videos was taking so much of my time, so much stress, that I did measure it out and say, I do better on Instagram. I do better on Facebook.
Go back to your
don't
strengths.
have to do everything. I don't consume TikTok, you know. So why would I make those?
I like hearing myself talk, so TikTok is great. You know. Thank you all for coming.
Take things up here, please.
Yes,
Don't
if you
leave
have
without
questions
getting
already,
answers.
please bring them up front.